with Beard. Welcome, podcast kittens. It's Cathy Cat and...
Oh, Ladybeard, coming at you with yet another one of whatever these is. Cat with Beard. Yes.
It sounded a little bit like goat with beard. Whoa. It sounded a little bit like goat with beard because you were like, whoa.
Maybe that's what I was going for.
Goat.
Maybe I'm going to grow my beard out longer into a Billy Goat's gruff type
Oh,
number,
and I have to put on little goat horns for the podcast from now on.
Beard. I was planning to throw this paperclip against this
with
window, see if
beard.
I can get it to bounce off this. Let's see if we can do it. Hang on.
Paperclip bouncing.
Almost,
But
almost.
we're not by ourselves today. We got to behave a little bit because we have with us a special guest. Please introduce yourself one more time.
Hi, my name is momentjoon. I'm a rapper.
Momentjoon, ladies and gentlemen! Welcome to podcast for the second time.
Korean
Mr.
rapper,
Joon.
now in Japan, rocking it or rapping it.
Rapping it, the most academic rapper I've ever encountered in my
are
life.
academic rapper.
The best spoken, trilingual, puts
rapper.
rap terms in the most clear and concise and academic language that you
Great,
ever
yeah.
imagined. PhD student.
PhD rapper soon.
So now what's your PhD in? Music awesomeness.
Musicology. Yeah.
Musicology is a PhD rapper soon.
And professional rapper. Holy smoke-a-rooney.
All of
Red belt taekwondo was in the army. Hey, on every front. Momentjoon can kick your ass.
Yep, on all front, he's kicking all our asses. But also, this topic is we're going to be going into a bit of a difficult topic today.
Sensitive, I think, is the word we like to use.
Sensitive topic. So we're going to try and be very, very careful and try to use words and languages with the uttermost respect. We'll try our best, but yeah, it's a little bit of a slippery topic, so we all had to have like a deep breath before we started this, but here we are. Our topic today is racism in Japan. Now, Joon, you call yourself an immigrant rapper.
Yeah.
So I guess this is part of the themes that you rap about sometimes?
Sometimes, yeah, I definitely do talk about it. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. All
We're
right.
going to talk about your experiences of being a Korean immigrant living in Japan for all these years.
All right.
Yeah.
That topic is actually one of the topics we asked recently in an interview on the streets of Tokyo to foreigners that came, and we just asked them, have you experienced any kind of racism? And it just happened on that day. Most of the people we stopped were like Caucasians, and generally they don't seem to be having as many problems as other Asians in Japan. That's something that's underestimated that some people don't seem to realize is the Caucasians generally have like the very Hollywood image, let's say like this, the Hollywood image, the blonde hair, the blonde long wavy hair, and you know, it's a bit of a glamorous positive image. Of course, some people still have some problems, but compared to what you could get somewhere else, you're still kind of on the safer side, apparently. While it doesn't seem to be the same for other Asians, like that's something I'm learning about. So maybe you can share something with us, Joon.
Yeah, definitely. And I think you capture the, how do I say, the general perception the Japanese people have when it comes to the term foreigners, because obviously, you know, Westerners, I wouldn't even say Caucasians, but Westerners are very easy to just like, you know, be spotted in the streets of, in Japan. Yeah, and they are not actually, how do I say, just when it comes to just like pure numbers, they're not the majority when it comes to foreigners or people with, you know, different backgrounds living in Japan. It's obviously Asians mostly, Chinese, Koreans, Vietnamese, people from Thailand, Indonesia, Malaysia. Yeah, those are the absolute majority when it comes to the real foreigners living in Japan. And unfortunately or fortunately, their looks, their appearances, they're not that different from Japanese people. So when it comes to visibility, you know, they don't get a lot of representation, I feel. Yeah.
Right. I heard this. I'm not sure if this is a thing, but I heard it, for example, if a white person is on a bicycle, they're less likely to get stopped by the police and asked than a other Asian person who clearly looks not Japanese. They might get stopped on their bicycles more often and checked if this is actually their bicycle and their license, their gaikokujin card. I'm not sure. Have you heard about that?
I heard about that, but I never experienced it because, as you can see, my face is not that different from Japanese people, and as long as I keep my mouth shut, I'm quite sure Japanese people will never notice that I'm not Japanese.
But
Because
when you speak Japanese, do you have a Korean accent when you speak? Because you seem to me very articulate and
Academic
pretty
grammar.
naturalized in all the languages.
and like 12 years ago, I might have passed, but after the military, like I told you in the previous episode, like after the military service, I lost many of my Japanese skills. So after that, I'm not confident at all. I think like 5 minutes is my personal records that I don't get, recognized as a foreigner. But yeah, yeah,
At least after 5 minutes, people will be able to spot that you're not Japanese.
yeah. Exactly. I mean, I think I'm okay. I'm fluent in Japanese and I can express myself, but the tone, the intonation of Japanese language is such a hard thing to just, master. So I will never get there, I think.
I like the humble self-criticism that it seems to
Yeah,
be
it
a
was
lot in
very
there. You're not
nice.
like, no, I'm the greatest. Yeah. It's more like a very humble, self-critical perspective that you're bringing to the table.
That
Very
was the
reflective.
most hip hop I've ever seen you suddenly become. That was
Sorry.
fantastic. More of that.
can't
More
help
of that on the podcast. Hoppity hop cat. My goodness.
No. Ladybird, you just mentioned actually with the bicycle story. You said you got stopped all the time.
I get stopped all the time.
On
Particularly
your mini skirt on the bicycle.
So,
Sorry, I keep talking about this mini skirt.
Hey, the lady bike is a staple of my life. If I don't have the lady bike, I can't get my shopping from the supermarket.
And you get stopped?
Yeah, all the time.
Oh,
All
right.
the time. It's actually less nowadays, but back when I lived in, I won't say which bit, but I lived in one of the more built up bits of Tokyo. Literally every time I rode my bike, I'd get stopped by the cops.
Every time they'd stop and check for your foreigner card?
Yeah. Check the registration of the bike, all of that.
Oh man.
Yeah.
What do they check? They ask for your card, I guess, and then
Well, they stop you and they go through a very polite spiel about we need to check your registration for your bike to make sure your bike isn't stolen, because sometimes bikes get stolen, and so they go through the number on your bike that's registered when you buy your bike, and they phone it in to their office thingamajig, and then whilst they're waiting for the answer to come back, then they go through. So what are you doing in Japan?
you get
How long you been here for? Oh yeah. Can I see your foreigner card? So then it becomes, it's like a covert way to check you out. Every now and again, when a cop sees me when I'm on my bike, you can see them kind of go, foreigner! And they kind of come at me and they're like, we're going to bust him doing something. And so they'll do the whole thing, and you can kind of see in their eyes, they're like, we're going to get you.
Oh no.
But then don't commit crimes. So I'm totally clean and everything. They go through my gaijin card. They get the call back from their office. Yep, that bike's registered to that person. They're like, damn it. All right, fine. There you go. They kind of leave me alone after that.
All right.
Yeah.
Oh gosh, I'm gonna jinx this now. It hasn't happened to me yet, but I have the feeling it might happen.
Frequently ride a bicycle?
Yeah, I do.
The Lolita bike?
I have a lolly bike. It's the most colorful bicycle in all of Tokyo.
Okay, that's good.
In a way, I'm surprised that no one has not stopped me for it and asked if this is a kid's bike that I'm riding, because it definitely looks like one. But in that way, that's my theft protection. No one's gonna steal my bike because it's so embarrassing. It's like the flashiest, most colorful bike. I even added little butterflies now to it. It stands out.
What if you meet a criminal child?
Pardon?
What if you meet a criminal child, a juvenile delinquent? They might want your bike.
Oh, yeah, maybe.
An
Sparkly
8-year-old
rainbow bicycle.
scum bucket.
What? I'm losing the English language here as well. So,
Anyway.
Going away from bicycles. Okay, so apparently you get some
harassed all
bicycle.
the time on my bike.
I not yet. Might happen any day. My sparkly rainbow bike. Joon, have you experienced any problems?
Well, with police, not at all, because like I said, my looks, my appearances is same as Japanese people. But I personally know, let's say like Southeast Asians or like people from Middle East go through like just like regular harassment. Getting stopped by, well, in Ladybeard's case, they ask you politely, but from what I heard, they don't even, well, from my Iranian friend's experience, he told me that police didn't even use kegel to him. And he gets stopped by police at the koban in front of his house, like 10 times a month or something like that. Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
Same cops? They would just get to know him, wouldn't they? Same cops.
Yes, yeah, exactly. So they even know each other's name and stuff like that. But
You could like, hey, whatever, Yamamoto. Hey, it's good to see you
Yeah.
again. You want to have a chat with me again? Okay, hey, Mr. Yamamoto. They're not getting pally, no.
Because I think
Yeah.
about when it happens to me, I kind of say to myself, well, I look like a freak. So I kind of, it's probably good that the cops are checking on me. Do you know what I'm saying? Like I'm either a bearded man in pigtails and a skirt, or, you know, when I'm off the clock, I dress like a filthy heavy metal head. So my long hair and my beards and my Slipknot t-shirt and so forth. So I kind of think the cops would look at me and say, that's probably someone we should make sure is above board.
Oh, so you actually agree with them pulling you out from time to time?
Yeah, you know, I think if I were a cop, I'd see me and I'd go, something's going on with him. With your Iranian mate, does he look like a filthy heavy metal head? What's the deal?
Not at all.
It looks
Not
like
at
an
all. I
academic.
mean,
He's
not at
wearing
all. I mean, he's a student. I mean, he used to be a student at Tokyo University. So
wearing a cardigan,
Yeah.
wearing a
At
cardigan and
Tokyo
a knit.
University. He should just
Yeah.
bling his Todai. Show his Todai card. Go, look at this.
But
I'm
now-
elite.
Now, what about within the rap community? Because in your raps, you mention your foreignness and your experiences of being foreign in Japan a lot, and you actually reference a lot of the racial slurs which kind of get leveled against Koreans in Japan. Do you feel discrimination against you within the rap community?
Within the rap community, I mean, it's hard to say because hip hop is, well, it started as a culture of, I think minorities in US, right? So actually what works as a disadvantage when it comes to just living your life in Japanese society can actually be an advantage when it comes to rapping, like street credit, something like that. Like when your skin color is the reason why you get stopped by the police, actually within hip hop you can commodify it. Like, this is a sign that I'm, for some reason, this makes me realer than you are.
Legit.
Yeah, which doesn't make any sense.
You're
That's how
gonna
it
need
works.
all the help you can get with your street cred, Mr. PhD. Mr. 3 languages, well-spoken PhD with your glasses.
But then I mean, how do I say this? I actually don't like that because it, just like how Japanese society as a whole put foreigners or immigrants on my part, put them in a box and turn them into some kind of caricature. Hip hop does the same thing too by using those things like my skin color, my dad is from this country, my mom is from this country, and I grew up in a very rough neighborhood, something like that. I mean, yeah, it is good that you can use that to your advantage and commodify it, but at the same time, if you do that too much, you turn yourself into some kind of character, and I really, really don't like that. Yeah.
But could it not be interpreted as a celebration of that?
Oh yeah, sure. Oh yeah, sure. But yeah, I think there's a fine line between like celebrating who you are and also and just becoming a character, like exaggerated character of who you are. And I feel like because Japan hasn't had a real good example of actually like celebrating who you are, celebrating your like ancestry, celebrating your how do I say, like your background and stuff like that. I think many of the rappers, they actually kind of they made a mistake when it comes to talk about their experiences, like turn it into some kind of novelty, some kind of like freak story or something like that. And yeah, I feel sad about it.
Do you think that within hip hop, there's a lot of people who are not from a bad background at all and have not really, dealt with substantial hardship, but because that's part of the culture and they love the music, they sort of, want to find something that they feel they're hard done by about that they can then talk about in their rapping and whatnot?
Yeah, definitely. And that's why I have a like huge respect for, especially like Nikkei Brazilian rappers coming out these days. Like they're really great.
Oh,
Nikkei
Brazilian rappers.
Nikkei Brazilian rappers.
Nikkei
Yeah.
Brazilian. Explain.
So Japan, like 100 years ago or so, Japan sent a lot of migrants to South American countries.
Yes, they did.
Yes.
And and after like several decades, in 1980s when Japan was experiencing this economic boom, and they were experiencing this labor shortage, they actually made this special law for the Brazilians or South Americans who have Japanese ancestry to come into Japan very easily, and
Yes.
they were used as a manual labor in Japan, and it's still going on. And
There's still a lot of people who have like the two passports now.
Yeah.
And there's like a lot of friendship also. There's like a big Japanese communities in Brazil,
Big
Brazilian
time.
communities in Japan,
Ah.
kind of thing. But you
Yeah.
said there's also rappers emerging now from that.
oh yeah, and I have a huge respect for them. And also, there are many Zainichi Korean rappers, obviously, because Koreans are probably the most visible, most outspoken minorities when it comes to ethnic minorities in Japan. So there's been a lot of Zainichi artists and rappers who talk about their experience and all that.
Just explain for the viewers, just explain this word that begins with Z that you just said.
So Zainichi Koreans is the term for ethnic minority, how do I say, ethnic Koreans in Japan. So Korea used to be a colony of Japanese Empire. So naturally, there were a lot of like flow of population from Japan to Korea and from Korea to Japan. But after the World War II, there were still many Koreans who chose to live in Japan because it has been their home for many decades. So it was 1945. So I think you can say that we are having fourth or fifth generation Zainichi Koreans who were born and raised in Japan. Yeah, they're ethnic Koreans in Japan. That's how you call them, Zainichi Koreans.
But ethnic Koreans in Japan, the community sort of it kind of has various struggles, doesn't it? As in, you're not classified as citizens of Japan. Yeah, you can't get Japanese passports.
Well, there's a sad story about it. So right after the World War II, obviously Koreans who are living in Japan, because before the war they were considered to be Japanese citizens. Even after the war, to some period they could hold on to their Japanese passport. But then,
really?
with the declaration of Japanese constitution, Japanese government just all of a sudden they just took that away from them. So they were forced to choose. They were forced to choose a nationality between South Korea or North Korea, and some of them actually refused to choose at all. So they chose non-nationality. So yeah, there's a sad story behind it.
Wow. Okay. So before 1945, a lot of Koreans were citizens of the empire as such.
Yeah.
And once the empire fell apart, they had to choose which nation state they were a citizen of. Wow. I see.
All right. So coming back to discrimination in Japan, you said you actually have not experienced any problems with the police. Have you experienced any other problems?
Well, on the street, thankfully, because of my looks and appearances, I don't go through that. But
And taekwondo.
but because my life is not only limited to a bubble of university, like I actually worked in a very like I don't know like rough places, like manual labor or even some like I don't know like teaching Korean, teaching Japanese, teaching English or stuff like that. So I've experienced my share of Japanese society outside of university, from very bottom to the very high. So when it comes to interaction with Japanese people, yeah, there were many occasions that I felt that this is discrimination, this is bias, this is stereotyping, yeah, stuff like that. But thankfully, none of them have been violent per se. Yeah, but I think many other people, especially from other Asian countries, I don't think they can say the same thing. So
tell me about your interactions with, I guess what we just referred to as the bottom of Japanese society. I suppose the working class. Tell me about your interactions with them.
Well, actually, how do I say it? Those people? I don't want to call them like how do I say it? Like manual labor. Yeah, manual laborers. They're very straightforward and very frank. So it is very easy to understand what their biases are, what their like knowledge of my nationality or my culture is. So every time it's when they ask me like all kinds of like ridiculous questions just because I'm Korean, it's actually really easy to just counter them, and they are very quick to adjust their opinions.
Okay.
Right, okay. Oh.
That's good.
But I cannot say the same thing about let's say academic environment or
Really?
Oh, that's
or business
Oh,
environment.
Wait a
Yeah, me
second. So
neither.
the
Talk to
working
us.
class is actually
They're
more easier to
more
accept,
progressive
more
than
progressive than the academics?
Not really, yeah, because they think that they are not biased. They're not, yeah,
They're like, I learned this.
Yeah.
I have
see.
my internet sources.
yeah,
kind of
yeah,
thing.
exactly.
That is interesting.
Wow, so the academics are the ones whose minds
They're
can't be
actually the-
changed.
Yeah, it's like actually a small minds in the
Because
academics.
they tiptoe around the real bias that they have. Like they don't express it like straightforward. They always tiptoe around it. But like let's say just like regular degular obajang, obasang that I meet on Osaka street, they just like tell you straightforward, like, "Anta niiniku ippai taberu no?" Like, do you eat garlic every day? It's like, no, like, do you?
Garlic every
Stereotypes.
day.
It's probably
What?
the same like beer. Do you drink beer every day because you're German? Do you hug a
I see, I see.
kangaroo every day? 'cause
Yeah.
I see, I
Do you
see.
have kimchi in your refrigerator? Like,
I
I mean,
see.
sometimes I do, sometimes I don't.
Yeah.
Yeah. But it is very easy to talk to those people because they wear their bias on the sleeves. It's very easy to just spot it. But I think it's kind of like Kansai or Osaka thing too, because like I told you, like they're very straightforward and they're very expressive. But like what I experienced in Tokyo, people are more sophisticated or well-mannered. But on the other hand, because of that, they don't actually talk about their like real thoughts, real opinions. Yeah, at least not to me, I feel.
This one thing I'm curious about. It seems like the good thing we can take away from it at this point is that it's less physical violence or less
Yeah.
physical discrimination, right? People will have
Yeah.
some weird stereotypes or will say something, but the academics will actually not say it. They might say it behind your back.
Yeah,
But
I
at
think
least
so.
it's not escalating into violence. No one's pulling out their fist for no reason.
Yeah, I mean, thankfully it didn't happen to me personally, but recently there's been an incident in Kyoto that there was a village of Zainichi Koreans, mostly Zainichi Koreans who live there. It's a place called Utoro in Kyoto, and some nut job, I would say, burned the whole village down, or tried to burn the whole village down because he was influenced by extreme ideas he got on internet and stuff like that. So it is happening. Japan, yeah. So Japan is not free of those violence, like or hate crimes or racial violence. It is not free of that.
Hang on.
And
There might be less, but it's not free of it.
Yep.
Hang on. Some mentally ill individual or just some one who got radicalized?
Very right.
Radicalized. Yeah, one who got
radicalized. Decided they were going to burn down a village of
Try to. Yeah.
As well.
There's one thing I'm curious about. I heard there was a negative stigma, and I guess some right wing and the older generation might still hold on to that. But right now, we also have a very positive image in Japan. We have now Korean cafes, Korean food, Korean idols. I think the idols were the K-pop. So there's a lot of like influence now. Literally, I walked yesterday past a store that all the food products were actually like really cute design Korean food products and stuff. So I assume it started with the talents and is now there's a bit of a K boom, like a Korean boom. Has that changed, or at least how balance some things out for the younger generation? What do you think?
I don't think, I mean, obviously it is at least it's not a bad thing, I feel. But still, how do I say this? Well, I think lionizing is just as bad as demonizing. Well, thankfully, lionizing, like, like worship something, like,
Oh,
yeah,
I see.
So I don't think it's gonna lead to the real understanding of, like, I think minorities or minorities in general in Japan. Like, it's the K culture or like Korean culture that is being consumed by Japanese people are, well, it's a commercialized version of what real Korea is. And I have to say, I am not part of that culture anymore. I've been living in Japan ever since I was 19, so I don't even know what South Korea is like these days anymore. I'll call myself a citizen of Japan, or at least a citizen of Osaka city, Osaka-fu, but I'm not part of Korean society anymore. But because of this shift of image when it comes to Korea or Korean culture from something that is like inferior to Japan, like dirt poor, to something that's like high fashion, like very modern, like cool and hip. I feel like Japanese people will use this new image to judge me still, which is not, well, it's obviously way better than, like, how do I say, devaluing me. But I still think that it is nonetheless a caricaturizing or characterizing, not actually interacting with me as a person, but use that reference point so much that they don't actually see me as a person in front of them. So yeah, I think there is a limitation when it comes to the good representation. Yeah, especially because it's not made by Korean people or foreigners, let's say, who live in Japan, who actually express their their opinions, their feelings, their emotions that they got by living in Japan. So yeah, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
The negative image and the positive image in the end are just constructed images from society, but they're not at the core of what the culture is.
Yeah, yeah. Especially if it's not made by people who actually live here. It is made by Koreans who live in Korea, right? Not by Koreans who live in Japan. So if you're trying to judge me with that image, well, I'm not part of it.
If you were to give a piece of advice or a message to a young Korean moving to Japan, or otherwise, foreigner moving to Japan, what would it be?
Is that Japan is not a monolith at all. No matter how much you want to believe in that myth, it's not a monolith. It's a very diverse country. It has always been, as far as I can see. It's a very diverse country with just region-wise, ethnic-wise, culture-wise, it is so diverse. So if you come with Japan with, I mean, you have to, I guess, if you come with Japan with one image of Japan, just be prepared that you have to adjust your opinion or your image or expectation very quickly. And maybe trying to come to Japan with more open mind that actually this country can be so much more than you see. Yeah. It's a beautiful country, but it is beautiful because it is diverse.
Okay, that's a good point to wrap this bad boy up.
Good point to wrap this up.
Yo.
So yeah, I mean, I think with us, our majorities of our experiences are positive. That's why we're still here.
Well, that's correct.
Sure, yeah. Me too. I love this country.
I guess we all love Japan because we're still here.
Well, that's right.
But it's interesting to see that if you should encounter problems, it seems to go, in different levels. You've experienced it differently than you've experienced it. I must say I'm glad that I barely had any problems so far, even though I dress like this.
Well, that's probably why. I mean, I dare say that we, both of us, probably on a daily level look somewhat more, criminal than yourself. You don't look like you're out, committing murders.
Who knows?
Maybe you are. Maybe secretly, Cathy Cat is actually.
I have a little pen. I have a pen.
She's got some shank hidden underneath that Lolita dress. Ready to take this out. Thank you so much for joining us today on Cat with Beard. Tell the good people where they can find you on the internet.
Follow me on Twitter and Instagram, momentjoon, and please stream my music on Apple Music or Spotify or whatever platform you can get your hand on.
Hell yeah.
Especially the album Passport and Garçon. I think it's masterpiece. So check it.
And Joon is spelled Joon as well.
Yep.
Moment Joon.
And
excellent.
moment is like the moment.
The moment. In the moment. Just one moment. I don't mean Cathy Cat, tell the people we're on the internet.
Hey, right. Cathy Cat _Broad TV is where you can find me on Twitch, Twitter, Instagram, all the places. And also, if you have some time on YouTube, there's quite a lot of different videos where you can find me. Also, I am on NHK World, Japan Railway Journal, and Cat with Beard, the podcast, the wonderful podcast that you're listening to or watching here right now.
5 stars.
Yeah, rank us with the 5 stars, give us all the likes and all the ups and follow and like and share and do all the things that you guys can do to make sure that we can bring more of this to you and Ladybeard.
Hello, I'm Ladybeard. Ladybeard _Japan is where I live on the internet, along with my group Babybeard at Babybeard _Japan. Momentjoon, thank you so much for joining us today, mate.
Thank you for having me.
Cheering, and we're looking forward to seeing your academic rap career.
Yes, I look forward to more Rapidemia. I can't wait.
Rapidemia. I like it.
Rapidemia. Hell yeah.
Rapidemia is on.
Thank you, mate. And everybody, stay cool, stay fun, stay kawaii, and tuned into Cat with Beard. Done it.